My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was not placed before you by accident. Do not rush past these words. Something is unfolding behind the silence, and the person connected to your heart is standing at the edge of a decision that could change everything. They are not far from you in spirit, even if distance, confusion, pride, or unanswered questions have made it seem that way. But now the moment has become urgent. Your soulmate is one choice away from losing you forever, and deep within them, they already know it. They may not have spoken it aloud. They may still be pretending that there is more time. They may be moving through their day as if your connection will remain waiting exactly where they left it. But heaven has watched the hesitation growing inside them. Heaven has seen how often they have reached for you in their thoughts and then pulled back before their heart could become honest. They keep telling themselves that tomorrow will be easier, that another opportunity will appear, that you will somehow understand what they cannot yet explain. But they are beginning to realize that love cannot survive forever on unspoken intentions. There is something they have not understood until now. You were never asking them to be perfect. You were asking them to be present. You were not demanding that they arrive with every answer. You only wanted them to stop hiding behind uncertainty. You wanted one honest conversation, one sincere gesture, one moment in which they chose courage over fear. Yet every time the door opened, they stood outside it, wondering whether they were worthy to enter. And while they hesitated, your spirit began learning how to live without the answer you once waited for. Do not skip this moment, because the most important part has not yet been revealed. Your soulmate can feel that something in you has changed. They cannot name it, but they feel it when they think of you. They feel a different energy around your memory. There was once a softness that seemed to whisper, "I am still here." Now that softness has become quieter. Not because your heart has turned cold, but because your soul has grown tired of carrying a connection alone. You have reached a place where love is no longer enough without truth. You have learned that a powerful connection does not excuse endless confusion. You have learned that patience is sacred, but so is self-respect. And somewhere deep within your soulmate, this realization has created a trembling they cannot ignore. They are beginning to understand that losing you would not happen in one dramatic moment. It would happen quietly. It would happen when you stopped checking for their message. It would happen when their name no longer interrupted your peace. It would happen when you finally accepted that the future you imagined with them was never meant to be built by one heart alone. They can sense that moment approaching. That is why their thoughts have become restless. That is why memories of you are returning with unusual clarity. A conversation they once dismissed is replaying in their mind. A look in your eyes that they failed to understand is suddenly making sense. Words you spoke from a place of honesty are echoing differently now. They remember the times you tried to reach them without pressuring them. They remember the ways you protected their feelings even when yours were breaking. They remember how gently you loved them, and the truth is beginning to confront them. They may have mistaken your patience for permanence. Stay until the end, because something huge is waiting inside this message. Your soulmate is not simply deciding whether to speak to you. The choice before them is deeper than communication. They must decide who they are willing to become. They must choose whether they will continue living from old fear or finally step into the truth of what they feel. They must choose whether pride is more important than connection. They must choose whether the opinions of others deserve more power than the voice in their own heart. They must choose whether they will protect themselves from possible rejection or risk everything for the possibility of genuine love. This is why the decision has taken so long. It is not because they feel nothing. It is because they feel more than they know how to carry. There is an old wound inside them that becomes active whenever love begins to feel real. They have learned to appear calm when they are overwhelmed. They have learned to create distance when closeness awakens fear. They have learned to delay difficult conversations until the silence becomes heavier than the truth. Somewhere in their past, they began believing that vulnerability gives others the power to leave. So when your connection touched the deepest part of them, they did not know how to move toward it. They moved away. But what they never expected was that distance would not erase you. They tried to distract themselves. They filled their time. They avoided certain songs, certain places, certain memories. They told themselves that what they felt would fade if they stopped feeding it. Yet the more they tried to silence the connection, the louder it became in unexpected moments. Your presence returned when the room became quiet. Your voice appeared in their mind when they needed comfort. The thought of you surfaced whenever they imagined the future. And gradually, they began to understand that you were not simply someone they could forget. You had become connected to the part of them that still believed in something real. Now they are afraid that they waited too long. They wonder whether you still feel what you once felt. They wonder whether someone else has recognized the value they were too hesitant to honor. They wonder whether your silence means peace or departure. They wonder if the door is still open, or if they are only standing before the memory of what could have been. These questions follow them more closely than they admit. Even when they smile, there are moments when their heart becomes distant because they are imagining your life moving forward without them. And here is the truth they are struggling to face: you are capable of doing exactly that. You are not trapped in this connection. You are not destined to wait forever for someone who refuses to choose. Your life is still moving. Your purpose is still unfolding. The love meant for you will never require you to abandon your dignity in order to receive it. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that heaven did not place you in their path so they could keep you in uncertainty. You entered their life as an invitation to grow, to heal, to become honest, and to recognize a love that could transform them. But an invitation must be accepted. A door must be entered. A choice must be made. Do not mistake this urgency for punishment. Heaven is not threatening them. Love is not forcing them. But every sacred opportunity carries a season, and every season eventually changes. There comes a point when delay becomes a decision of its own. There comes a point when silence communicates what words refuse to say. There comes a point when the heart that waited must be allowed to rest. You are approaching that point. Your soulmate feels it because your energy is no longer chasing an explanation. You have started gathering pieces of yourself that were scattered across unanswered questions. You are remembering who you were before confusion entered your heart. You are returning to the dreams you placed on hold. You are discovering that closure does not always arrive through another person's words. Sometimes closure is the moment you stop demanding clarity from someone who continues choosing uncertainty. And this is what frightens them most. They believed they would know when you were truly leaving. They imagined there would be a final argument, a dramatic goodbye, or a clear declaration that everything was over. But your departure is not happening through anger. It is happening through acceptance. It is happening through the quiet decision to stop begging life to give you what should have come willingly. It is happening every time you choose peace instead of searching for signs. It is happening every time you remind yourself that your value does not depend on whether they are ready to recognize it. They can feel you slipping beyond the reach of their hesitation. Yet before you assume that everything is already lost, listen carefully. Something has shifted inside them too. A moment occurred recently that brought your absence into sharp focus. It may have seemed ordinary to everyone else, but to them, it carried unexpected weight. They saw something, heard something, or witnessed a connection that reminded them of what they could lose. Perhaps they watched two people choose honesty after a long misunderstanding. Perhaps someone asked them a simple question about love. Perhaps they found an old message from you. Perhaps they entered a place where your memory felt almost present. Whatever happened, it broke through the defenses they had been using. For the first time, they did not ask, "What if I speak and everything goes wrong?" They asked, "What if I remain silent and lose them forever?" That question changed the atmosphere around their heart. They began imagining the future more clearly. They saw themselves months from now, still wondering what would have happened if they had reached out. They imagined hearing that you had moved on, that you had found peace with someone who did not hesitate to claim a place in your life. They imagined seeing your happiness from a distance and realizing they had once been offered the chance to stand beside you. The thought was not easy for them to carry. It exposed something they had been hiding even from themselves. They do not merely miss your attention. They miss who they became in your presence. Around you, something softer emerged. Something honest. Something hopeful. You made them confront feelings they had buried beneath responsibility, routine, and self-protection. You saw beyond the version of them they showed the world. That is why your connection felt both comforting and dangerous. To be loved by you meant being truly seen, and to be truly seen meant they could no longer hide from themselves. They ran from that truth before. Now they are standing before it again. But this time, the consequences are different. This time, your heart is no longer waiting in the same place. This time, they cannot offer half-truths and expect the connection to heal itself. This time, a vague message will not be enough. A temporary burst of emotion will not be enough. They must come forward with clarity. They must be willing to explain what they avoided, acknowledge what their distance caused, and reveal what they truly want. That is the one choice before them. They must choose truth completely, or they may lose the chance to speak it forever. There are people around them who do not understand the depth of this connection. Some have encouraged them to move on without ever asking what their heart actually wants. Some have told them that vulnerability is weakness. Some have convinced them that if you truly cared, you would continue waiting no matter how long they remained uncertain. But something inside your soulmate is beginning to reject those voices. They are realizing that advice given without understanding can become a barrier between two people who were meant to learn something profound from one another. One particular voice has had more influence than you know. This person may not be cruel. They may even believe they are protecting your soulmate. But their words have repeatedly strengthened the fear that already existed. They have encouraged caution when courage was needed. They have questioned your intentions without knowing your heart. They have suggested that your soulmate keep emotional distance until they feel completely safe. Yet love does not offer complete safety before it begins. Love asks for honesty, trust, discernment, and the willingness to be known. Your soulmate is now beginning to see that some of the confusion they blamed on the connection was actually created by the noise around it. And soon, they will have to decide which voice matters most. Will they listen to the people who are not living with the consequences of their silence? Or will they finally listen to the truth rising inside them? This decision is closer than you think. There is a message forming in their mind. They have imagined sending it more than once. They have rewritten the opening words. They have deleted sentences because they felt too revealing. They have wondered whether to begin with an apology, a question, or a confession. They are afraid that saying too much will overwhelm you, but they are even more afraid that saying too little will repeat the same mistake. So they remain caught between the desire to reach you and the fear that the moment has already passed. But a deeper truth is pushing them forward. They know you deserve more than a casual return. You deserve more than someone appearing only because loneliness became uncomfortable. You deserve more than late recognition without changed behavior. If they come back, they must come back differently. Their words must carry accountability. Their actions must support their promises. Their presence must become consistent enough to rebuild what uncertainty weakened. And this is where the story becomes more intense, because your soulmate has recently made a private promise to themselves. They have told no one. In a quiet moment, after thinking about everything that has happened between you, they decided that they could no longer remain divided. They decided they would either release the connection honestly or step toward it fully. No more half measures. No more watching from a distance. No more hoping you would somehow read the feelings they refused to express. They recognized that the middle ground was harming both of you. But they have not yet completed the choice. They are still standing in the final space between realization and action. Do not skip now, because what happens next depends on a truth they have not yet discovered about you. They believe your heart may already be closed. They believe your silence may mean that all love has disappeared. They believe you may no longer care enough to hear them. But what they do not understand is that your heart did not close because love vanished. It protected itself because love remained without security. There is a difference. You may still feel their presence in unexpected moments. You may still wonder what they would say if fear were removed. You may still carry tenderness beneath the strength you have built. But you are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace for potential. You are no longer willing to translate silence into promises. You are no longer willing to build a future out of signs while real communication remains absent. This is the boundary your soul has created. And strangely, this boundary may be the very thing that awakens them. For so long, they believed love meant endless access. They believed the connection would remain available regardless of how long they delayed. But now they are learning that sacred love also carries sacred responsibility. To receive your heart, they must respect it. To enter your life, they must bring truth. To ask for another chance, they must be willing to show what will be different. Heaven is not asking you to chase them. Heaven is asking you to remain aligned with your worth. There is nothing you need to force. Nothing you need to prove. Nothing you need to manipulate into happening. The choice belongs to them now. Your task is not to rescue them from the discomfort of their decision. Your task is to keep walking in the direction of peace, purpose, and truth. If they are meant to walk beside you, they must choose to move. And they know the time for movement has arrived. Tonight, or in a quiet hour very soon, they will be confronted by something they can no longer avoid. A memory, a conversation, or an unexpected realization will bring the truth to the surface. They will understand that losing you would not simply mean losing a relationship. It would mean losing the person who reflected a version of them they were meant to become. That realization will shake them. They will remember the exact moment when they first knew you were different. They will remember how your energy reached them before your words did. They will remember how easily you understood what they struggled to explain. They will remember the strange familiarity, the comfort, the intensity, and the fear. Then they will see the entire story differently. They will realize that the greatest threat to this connection was never distance, timing, or another person. It was their refusal to choose. And as this truth enters their heart, they will reach for the message they have been afraid to send. Their hands may hesitate. Their mind may search for another excuse. The old fear may whisper that silence is safer. But something stronger will answer. Something within them will say, "This may be your last chance." The words they are preparing will not be ordinary. They will not begin where you expect. They will reveal a detail they have kept hidden from you from the beginning. A detail connected to why they pulled away, why they watched from a distance, and why every attempt to forget you failed. They are one choice away from losing you forever. But they are also one choice away from finally telling you the truth. And the truth they are about to reveal begins with the night they almost came to you, but someone stopped them.